Hi friends, host Eric here, host of Talking with Famous People, and I had some thoughts as I was cleaning up a little while ago about the dissolution of a marriage between an ENTP and an ESFJ, and why it happened, and how I understand it so much better through a cognitive function model than through any other. So let's start with the basics. I, of course, am the ENTP, and my ex-wife is the ESFJ, and I want to go over the cognitive functions real quick to explain what happened. So my cognitive functions are NETI, FESI. Hers are FESI, NETI. So my two dominant, my top two are her bottom two, and vice versa. Now, this relationship should go quite well, really, because we're quadrumates. We have the same conscious functions, with the same set of values. We value the same things: possibilities, other people's feelings, accuracy, and ordering yourself through time. Being attentive to your schedule and your stuff, and having a neat and tidy and well-structured life. We value those things the same way. We value them in opposition to the alternative values. So whether you're an ESFJ or an ENTP, you're still going to value TI over FI when it comes to decision making, for sure. You're going to value FE over TI if you're an ESFJ, and you're going to value TI over FE if you're an ENTP. But those are bridgeable gaps, right? Because you at least understand the value of each of the things the other person values. You know experiences where you've prioritized that value yourself, because in your conscious stack. Compton, stop! Okay, so what happened in my marriage? Well, first of all, it's important to remember that I spent the first, 8 years or however many years it was, that I was more or less drunk, or at least in some degree of alcoholism, between not quite alcoholic and full blast alcoholic. So that was very challenging for her. Keep in mind her cognitive function stack. Her dominant function is FE, so she is first and foremost making sure that that problem doesn't impact other people's perceptions of us. Doing an excellent job of helping me to hide it and stuff like that, and to normalize it, and to make it somehow functionally okay in a way that it wasn't in its natural state. That we were somehow going to render meaning sufficient to make it okay. Her second function is SI. She looks to past things, what's worked before, methodologies she understands and has used and practiced before. She looks for solutions that worked in the past, And so what happened to our marriage? Well, eventually, she had enough data to realize these stopgap solutions that successfully attended to things that she prioritized most, like other people's perceptions of us, were inadequate. That we both had feelings that were being ignored, internal feelings, our own feelings, because neither of us have it on our conscious stack. And so, yeah. Anyhow, the point being this. Okay, so what happens then when she realizes there's enough data on the table that I make her understand this is unsustainable. I've got to leave, basically, or fix something, or change something, address it. So she doesn't really understand this consciously, but she goes to a shrink. And the shrink gets out of her the fact that she's got an alcoholic husband, whom she's at that time still referring to as a functional alcoholic. Ridiculous term. And I'm fighting hard to hold on to the alcohol still, right? So this shrink does war on me from afar, where I can't access her at all. She's only accessed through Candace's accessing her through herself, right? I don't have a chance to make any arguments against what the shrink is saying except to Candace in third person. Anyway, the shrink basically walks her through a process of breaking me of supports for my alcohol consumption, which was smart, and basically explaining to Candace that Candace needed to put her foot down and say I'm leaving and stuff like that. So when she really did and she was serious, of course, I wasn't going to let that happen. What do? I quit drinking. If it fails, then I really quit drinking. And now I have done something that is so unfair on some level, right? This is not a person who is good with adjusting on the fly, improvising, even though she was always great about talking in front of people and stuff, but she always knew clearly what she was going to be talking about. She didn't make it up off the fly, on the fly. So here's this woman who relies as her main tool function on past experience. She's had 10 years or whatever of marriage to teach her what to do with Eric. And then Eric quits drinking, and all of those lessons are meaningless. And so I'm doing all the things that she's officially asking me to do, which is change in ways that are meaningful and significant and that address her legitimate complaints about stuff. Across the board, I'm making those changes. Now, concurrently, I'm saying to her, now look, Candace, this is not the first time that I've had to make big changes to save this marriage. You're the one who's always saying, I'm going to leave if you don't blah. And then I fix it for a while. I fix it. I make the big change, whatever it is. And then there's some new problem. I accuse her of moving the goalposts, I said, now look, I am making all the big changes. You are going to need to make some adjustments too. Well, it's very easy for me to say that because I'm an ENTP. My dominant function is flexibility, adjust on the fly, improvisation. Oh, that's not working? My huge plan that I put all this time and energy into isn't working? Fine, throw it out the window, let's do something else. Let's get off my back. The fun part of that was done anyway. That sort of attitude is going to be trouble for a person whose dominant function is FE and second function is SI, because she's now stuck in a situation where she's got new problems. Every relationship has a sort of ongoing progression of new problems. Nothing gets fixed forever. But this time, none of her past solutions are relevant at all. None of the past ways that she drew conclusions about things are relevant at all. So if I had a behavior that looked to her like a risky behavior, it probably was when I was drinking, and it's not when I'm sober. I know what I'm doing a lot better. Even if I fail, it's okay because it's not going to snowball into a drunken rage or something like that. I am a real person now, and before I wasn't. I was a partial person. So she's now tasked with changing entirely how she thinks about the marriage. Obviously, there's no past data to reference regarding how to do that, right? How do you suddenly change entirely how you think about the marriage and the other person? Well, you got to be really good at TI and be really good at metacogniting. And what's her fourth function? TI. It's not a strong suit. She's not a dumb person at all. She's very bright. I've told her this for years. I'm like, you're super smart. I don't know why you keep saying you're not that smart. Well, I understand what she means now, which is simply that she can be really neat and tidy. Like I can be really neat and tidy. She can be really neat and tidy in her thinking. But it's a fucking it's like me being neat and tidy around here. So anyway, I kind of feel like what happened in that marriage was very unfair to Candace in the sense that I controlled the narrative of it so much. Like you're leaving me. You have to bear all the moral responsibility of this because I think we can work this out. Well, we could work it out, but and yeah, she could potentially change, and she could have potentially changed and come to understand the relationship differently. It would have required a lot of patience on her part and getting a whole new set of data. It's like starting over from scratch, And she's so accustomed to directing me as a means of protecting FE, and that's the toolbox she has in front of her, and all of a sudden I'm undirectable anymore. For good reason, but she can't possibly see that. She has all this new data. She keeps looking at old data to see what it means. Okay, there's an EPC. Where's the old data looks like that mean? Oh, it means this. So yeah, he's awful. Wait, I'm confused. She rushed out of the relationship. She rushed out of the marriage and ended it quicker than she needed to, quicker than I would have expected her to. And I think fundamentally she was avoiding coming to reconcile these very difficult truths. She continued to, throughout to the very end, find reasons why somehow it was really my fault, you know? Well, it is, in the sense that I'm the one who made the massive change and caused us to have to reinvent our entire relationship. So in that sense, it's my fault. But she wanted to be more concretely my fault. Like, well, it's because you won't do this with me. And I said, but I will. Let's compromise. Let's find a solution. But I want you to want to do it exactly how I want. You know, what you want is impossible. There's no such human being in the world who's going to want that. Well, what she really wanted was for some guidance from the past. And there just wasn't any. So keep the lessons of my marriage in mind when dealing with your own ESFJ, if you have one. If you're an INTP or an ENTP, or those are the two quadrimates of the ESFJs, right? If you're an INTP or an ENTP and you're in an SFJ relationship, you're in the right relationship. I really believe that. I really believe we don't need intellectual stimulation from our relationships. I made a joke in a comment earlier telling an INTP that INTPs, INTJs, ISTPs, and ENTJs are the only, not INTJs, ISTPs, INTPs, ENTJs, and ESTJs are the only people who want intellectual stimulation from their relationship. But, a lot of NTs probably think they do. ENTPs and INTPs, we don't need it and we don't want it. We shouldn't seek it. We can get that from fun times, talking with famous people or whatever, You shouldn't expect that from your woman. It's not going to do you any good. Expect her to love you, and don't set her up so unavoidably to fail as I did by being quite so NE heavy and quite so subject to massive life changes. But, I mean, it's not like I regret quitting drinking. I'm just saying, have reasonable sets of expectations for your SFJ. All right, thanks for watching Dr. People. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.